Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you about a framework that I've developed called SSAS. Basically, it's a way to look at your business to see where you might be able to improve a few things to improve efficiency and just the way that your business is run. So basically, it's SSAS, SSAS, so that stands for Sort, Systemise, Automate, and Support. So I'll kind of go through and talk about a few of the common things that I notice in businesses and then go through that framework. So common things, especially with smaller businesses, is the business has developed usually from one owner or a couple of owners, but it's a small business and they've kind of just built the business from the ground up doing whatever works at the time. So I notice when I come in, there's a lot of manual tasks, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, things are being done by hand, which is achievable when you've got a small number of users or a small number of clients. But I always look at a business, the end goal is always to expand. So, and I don't think a lot of business owners don't consider that when they start the business. They're, understandably, they're excited about starting the business and there's a lot to consider when you start a business. And I don't think a lot of people consider the systems that they're using and how they might scale or not scale in a lot of cases once the business starts to grow. So a lot of it is kind of around scalability that people don't necessarily consider. So yeah, like I said, a lot of manual tasks being done by hand, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of paper a lot of the time. So basically my framework that I've kind of developed, is the sort, systemize, automate, and support. So with sort, basically what we want to start doing is you want to look at the way your business is operating, sort through what processes there are for your customer and your business, and you want to simplify those things and basically weed out what isn't required. So a lot of small businesses, they might be doing things that at the time were needed, but now no longer are. And it kind of depends. It's on like a per business basis as to what that might be. For some businesses, they might, when they started out, they might be doing handwritten thank you notes if they're providing a product, which is a really nice touch. So, that might be part of your branding for your business, and that might be, so you might want to keep that. But for other businesses, they might be doing something similar, but once they expand, it's not feasible for them to continue doing that. And in the long run, they don't consider that something that will damage them. So they could remove that and basically remove that manual task and free up employees. So there's things like that. So just looking at where there's manual tasks, where there's systems that are in place that don't actually need to be there anymore because your business has expanded or you're looking to expand soon. But it's always a balancing act of what's going to support your client as much as possible as well. So that's the first step, is to kind of basically look at everything you've got and sort through it and what is actually needed and what is not. Once you've got that, you want to basically systemize that. So look at everything, sort through it, and then you want to systemize it into basically workflows. So, good one is always the customer journey, the customer workflow. From the point that they contact you, or it can even be before that in terms of marketing, things like that, how they find you. But let's just say for the point of when the contact first starts with your business, from that step on, what other system, what workflow does that customer or user or client follow to the end point? Because if you don't have those systems in place, you need to have them in place to be able to expand. Because basically expansion, everything needs to be systemized so that it can be put into processes. And then the next step would be automate. So we'll get to that in a minute, but that's why you need all those systems and processes. So with the customer journey, it could be that they contact you to book in a service. So they contact you to book in a service. What steps do you have there? So, someone that's just starting out, it might be that they email back and forth with that client to find a time that works to book in, or they might have a booking system that they can send them to that's online. But then what happens after they book in? Do they get an email reminder or a text reminder of the time that their appointment is? What happens after their appointment? Do they get any emails after that? Do you send them emails to get feedback? Is it a continuous service? So these are all things that you need to look at and plan out. At what point do they pay? Do they pay before or after the appointment with you? How do they pay? Is it online? Do they have to pay in store? Do they have various options, payment plans, all that type of stuff? So, and a lot of businesses do have all this planned out already, but it may be that they haven't written it down, and so it's important to write these processes down. So once you've got all that written down, you can then go to automate. So a lot of tasks that businesses have can actually be automated. So, you know, just in that example there, like I was saying, you could, if you've got appointments with a client, you can have a system that automates a lot of that. So, you know, when they want to book in, they can book in an online system. So basically they don't have to interact with you yet. You can still have everything user friendly. So you're very welcoming and warm, and a lot of messaging is there in that way. So it doesn't feel cold or anything, but basically you don't have to be, or an employee doesn't have to be in front of a computer emailing them back and forth constantly. So, you know, there could be a booking system that the client goes to and picks a time that they want that suits them, books that in. That system then sends them a booking confirmation with, you know, they can then add that to their calendar. If you want them to pay at that point, they can have, in that email, you can have them directed to pay through your payment system that you set up. And then after the appointment, again, if you wanted them to pay after the appointment, that could then remind them to pay. You could have an email, a follow-up email after that sends to them, you know, asking them how to, you know, possibly give you feedback on that appointment. If they're one-offs, if they're ongoing, it could prompt them to book in the next one. So there's all things like that you can then start to systemize. And then, you know, even with the payment, you know, you've got bookkeeping that you need to do. A lot of systems these days can integrate with your bookkeeping system, whether that's QuickBooks or Xero. There's plenty of others out there. But all that can be integrated so that it generates the invoices for you, and then, you know, someone can even reconcile the payments once you've received them as well. So there's a lot there to look at, and this is what I mean. A lot of small businesses do things manually. A lot of that is done manually, and it can be a little bit tricky to set up sometimes because every business is unique. So it's a case-by-case basis how things are going to work. But once you figure that out and you can automate, even if you automate like 50% of it, that's saving you 50% more time, right? So those are the things you want to look at to automate and systemize. And then from there, support. It's a little bit of like, I was trying to fit into the acronym, but support is basically find ways to support your internal business more. So a lot of that for me would be collaboration tools, depending on the size of your business. Basically, if it's more than 2 people, you want to look at collaboration tools like online cloud platforms like Google Workspace or Office 365 that allows multiple people to collaborate on a Word document or Excel spreadsheet at the same time, so that you don't have an old issue of old Excel where multiple people are trying to use it at one time and whoever saves last is what actually gets saved, so that you lose a bunch of data. So you have a bunch of cloud platforms for that. And then, you know, you can store all your files and folders, instead of it being on computer hard drive, you can have it on the cloud platform so that everyone has access to that. And that really goes a long way. And then once you start to expand it more, you can, in terms of support, you can look at communication systems that you can use. You know, if you're on the Google platform, that's got Google Chat, so you can all communicate through that. If you're on Office 365, Teams is really good in terms of all the collaboration tools. So you've got communication through there. You've got the cloud platform through Teams. So it's looking at ways that you can support your business in terms of that way. But then also, yeah, what's going to support you and your employees the best? And a lot of that support is actually starting those first 3 points of that process, because like I said, it takes a lot of the manual stuff out of it. And the repetitiveness that, you know, if something's repetitive, basically it usually can be automated. And then it comes down to a question of cost and how complicated it is and whether it's actually worth automating it. But generally, if it's repetitive, it can be automated in one way or another. So you want to start looking at supporting your business and your employees in that way. And from my perspective, a lot of that is collaboration tools if you're not using them already. And then, so that's kind of the starting points from there. So that's kind of the SSAS framework to look at. Again, it's sort, systemize, automate, and support. And then obviously that expands. Each one of those steps has steps within that just expands into a whole bunch of stuff. And that's just kind of a starting point to look at your business and how you can best support your business and your team. Another one for support is looking to have a central location for all the resources that your business needs. That's one, especially when you're expanding, it's great to have everything organized so that if you onboard a new employee, you kind of know how that's going to work, and you can kind of point them in the right direction of saying, hey, all of our stuff is here. And again, that sort and systemize applies to each position of your business. It's not, you can look at the overall business, you can have an overarching system for the business, but then obviously that branches out into all different branches, you know, in terms of employees, HR, onboarding, and then you've got the client onboarding, and then you've got accounting and all that type of stuff. So it does vary a lot, but to keep it simple, you want to start with those steps, and then you can kind of apply that to each branch of your business to kind of work through that and see what works. But hopefully that helped. If you have any questions, just ask. Always love supporting people as much as I can. So yeah, thanks guys.